Section 1, Introduction. The World According to Chomsky. Noam Chomsky is a big deal, like really big. He's not just a name you hear in academic circles. He's a household name for anyone interested in understanding the complexities of our world. His influence spans across multiple disciplines, making him a towering figure in modern intellectual thought. He's a linguist, philosopher, cognitive scientist, historian, social critic, and political activist. Basically, he's wicked smart. Chomsky's work in linguistics revolutionized the field, introducing concepts that have become foundational. But his intellectual curiosity didn't stop there. He ventured into philosophy, cognitive science, and even history, always questioning the status quo and pushing the boundaries of conventional wisdom. In his book, How the World Works, Chomsky breaks down how the world really works, and it's not always pretty. He delves into the mechanisms of power and control, exposing the often hidden forces that shape our lives. His analysis is both comprehensive and accessible, making complex ideas understandable for the average reader. He talks about power, who has it, and how they use it. Chomsky argues that power is concentrated in the hands of a few, and these elites use their influence to maintain their position. They manipulate political systems, control media narratives, and shape economic policies to serve their interests. Chomsky argues that the world is run by a small group of elites. These elites are not just politicians or business magnates. They are a network of interconnected individuals and institutions that wield enormous power. They operate behind the scenes, often out of public view, but their decisions impact every aspect of our lives. These elites control the government, the media, and the economy. They set the agenda, decide what issues are important, and influence public opinion. By controlling the flow of information, they can shape perceptions and manipulate outcomes to their advantage. They use their power to benefit themselves at the expense of everyone else. The result is a world where inequality is rampant, and the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen. Chomsky's critique is not just about identifying the problem, it's about understanding the systemic nature of these issues. Chomsky calls this system economic imperialism. He draws parallels between historical forms of imperialism and modern economic practices, showing how exploitation and domination have evolved but remain fundamentally the same. This economic imperialism perpetuates a cycle of poverty and disenfranchisement for the majority while enriching a select few. Chomsky's book is a wake-up call. It's a call to action for anyone who cares about justice and equality. He challenges us to look beyond the surface and question the narratives that are fed to us. By doing so, we can begin to see the world as it truly is, not as those in power want us to see it. He shows us that the world is not fair or just. The scales are tipped in favor of those who already have power and wealth. But Chomsky doesn't leave us in despair. He believes that understanding these injustices is the first step towards addressing them. But he also gives us hope. Chomsky argues that change is possible, but it requires collective action. He believes in the power of ordinary people to make a difference. By coming together and demanding change, we can challenge the status quo and create a more just and equitable world. He argues that we, the people, have the power to change the world. It's not an easy task, but it's a necessary one. Chomsky's work is a reminder that we are not powerless. We have the ability to shape our future, but we must be willing to fight for it. We just need to wake up and fight back. The world, according to Chomsky, is one where awareness leads to action, and action leads to change. It's a call to arms for anyone who believes in justice, equality, and the power of the human spirit. Section 2, Economic Imperialism, a Global Power Struggle. This chapter delves into the intricate web of economic relationships that define our world today. It's a story of power, control, and the relentless pursuit of wealth. Economic imperialism is like a game of Risk, but with real countries and real consequences. Imagine a high-stakes game where the players are nations and the board is the entire globe. The stakes? The very future of millions of people. It's all about powerful countries using their economic muscle to control weaker countries. These powerful nations leverage their financial and political influence to shape the policies and economies of less developed countries to their advantage. They do this by things like controlling trade, setting up puppet governments, and exploiting natural resources. Trade agreements often favor the more powerful country, leaving the weaker one at a disadvantage. Puppet governments are installed to ensure compliance with the interests of the dominant nation. Imagine a big corporation swooping in and buying up all the farmland in a smaller country. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario, it's a reality in many parts of the world. These corporations often prioritize profit over the well-being of local communities. That corporation can then dictate what's grown, how much it costs, and who gets to eat. Local farmers lose their autonomy, and the food produced is often exported rather than feeding the local population. That's economic imperialism in action. It's a system where the rich and powerful dictate terms, leaving the less fortunate with little say in their own economic destiny. This system creates massive inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor widens, leading to social unrest and economic instability. The wealthy enjoy the benefits of this system, while the poor struggle to survive. Rich countries get richer and poor countries get stuck in a cycle of debt and dependence. This cycle is perpetuated by unfair trade practices, high-interest loans, and economic policies that favor the wealthy. It's like a rigged game where the house always wins. The rules are set by those in power, ensuring that they continue to benefit at the expense of others. This is the harsh reality of economic imperialism, a global power struggle that affects us all. Section 3. The grip of corporations pulling the strings of power. Think corporations are just about making money? Think again. Chomsky argues that multinational corporations have way too much power. They influence governments, shape public opinion, and even control our access to information. Imagine a world where a handful of companies control everything you see, hear, and buy. That's the kind of world Chomsky warns us about. These corporations are like giant, faceless entities, and they're calling the shots. Chomsky believes that these corporations are driven by profit, not by people. They'll do whatever it takes to make a buck, even if it means exploiting workers, destroying the environment, or undermining democracy. Section 4. The illusion of choice media and the manufactured consent. In this section, we delve into how the media shapes our perceptions and beliefs, often without us even realizing it. Ever feel like the news is just propaganda? You're not alone. Many people have started to question the integrity and motives behind the news they consume daily. The frustration you feel is shared by countless others who sense that something is amiss. Chomsky argues that the media plays a key role in maintaining the status quo. By selectively presenting information, the media can influence public opinion and ensure that the dominant power structures remain unchallenged. This isn't just about what is reported, but also about what is omitted. He calls it manufacturing consent. This concept suggests that the media manufactures public consent for policies and practices that benefit the elite, often at the expense of the general populace. Basically, the media tells us what to think and we go along with it. This isn't a passive process, it's an active shaping of our thoughts and beliefs. The media sets the agenda and we, often unknowingly, follow it. Imagine turning on the TV and only seeing stories about how great the economy is, even though you're struggling to make ends meet. This creates a dissonance between your lived experience and the narrative being pushed by the media. That's manufactured consent in action. It's a subtle yet powerful way to keep the populace in check, making them believe that their struggles are isolated incidents rather than systemic issues. The media creates a distorted view of reality that benefits the powerful. By focusing on certain stories and ignoring others, they can shape the public's perception in a way that maintains the existing power dynamics. Chomsky challenges us to be critical thinkers. He urges us to look beyond the surface and question the underlying motives behind the news we consume. This means being aware of the biases and interests that shape media narratives. Don't just accept everything you see and hear. Question the narrative. Ask yourself who benefits from the story being told and what might be left out. This critical approach can help you see through the manufactured consent. Look for alternative sources of information. Diversify your media consumption to include independent and international news outlets. By doing so, you can gain a more balanced and comprehensive understanding of the world around you. Section 5, The People versus the Powerful, a history of resistance. Don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. Chomsky reminds us that people haven't just been sitting back and taking it. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of ordinary people rising up and challenging the powerful. Think about the civil rights movement, the women's suffrage movement, the anti-apartheid movement. These were all grassroots movements that fought for social justice and won. Chomsky argues that these movements give us hope. They show us that change is possible, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Section 6. Seeds of Change, Grassroots Movements and Their Impact. So, how do we fight back against economic imperialism and corporate power? Chomsky believes that the answer lies in grassroots movements. He argues that real change happens from the bottom up, not the top down. Think about it. Politicians are often beholden to special interests and corporations, but grassroots movements are driven by the people, for the people. They're about ordinary people coming together to demand a better world. Chomsky believes that these movements have the power to challenge the status quo and create a more just and equitable world. Section 7. The power of the people, collective action for a better world. One person alone can't change the world, but together we can make a difference. Chomsky urges us to get involved in grassroots movements and fight for the changes we want to see. This could mean joining a protest, writing to your elected officials, or supporting organizations that are working to make a difference. It's about using your voice and your power to create a better future. Chomsky reminds us that we are not powerless. We have a voice and we have the power to make a difference. Section 8. Chomsky's challenge, a call to action. Chomsky doesn't just want us to read his book and then go back to our lives. He wants us to do something. He challenges us to ask ourselves, what kind of world do we want to live in? And what are we willing to do to create it? He reminds us that we have a choice. We can be passive consumers, or we can be active citizens. We can accept the world as it is, or we can fight for the world as it should be. The choice is ours. Section 9. Conclusion, shaping our collective destiny. How the world works is a call to action. It's a wake-up call to the realities of power and inequality, but it's also a message of hope. Chomsky reminds us that we, the people, have the power to change the world. We just need to be willing to fight for it. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and make a difference.